My favourite book is Life of Pi, because it's quite a magical story with a great twist at the end.
Well, one of my first favourite books was The Woman Warrior by Maxine Hong Kingston. And the reason for that was because it was the first time I was reading a book by a Chinese author, but with Western life and culture.
His favourite book is a Moomins book, which is the Moomins counting book. And so we kind of make up a story as we go through it, and he loves that. And he will quite happily sit there and flick through that and read it for ages and ages entirely on his own.
I have lots of favourite books, but one is called Archer's Goon.
All Quiet on the Western Front. And I like it because it's not a very long book, but it's probably the most evocative account you could have of the First World War. It's very moving.
The Chimney Tree.
It's very funny and it's almost impossible to put down.
Because it sort of lets you like disappear into it, and it was like a whole lifetime that I sort of got to experience, and I felt like I sort of grew with it.
My favourite book is a book called Boy Wonder by a writer called James Robert Baker, who's sadly dead now. Why is it my favourite book? Because it's a work of total genius.
It was a book called The Great Invasion.
Evil Cradling by Brian Keenan.
Why is that your favourite?
The reason why is because, what have I written down here? Do you mind if I have a look? Yes, it's beautifully and poetically written.
Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test by Tom Wolfe.
My really favourite is Anna Karenina by Tolstoy.
Why is it your favourite?
Because I like to read about strong women.
I think it's pretty impossible to make into a film, which makes it a perfect book, really.
100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Why is it your favourite book?
Because actually it has a lot of traditions from where I'm from Colombia, from that region, and I love all how the characters are interrelated to each other after 3 or 4 generations.
My favourite book is The Magic Apple Tree by Susan Hill, and it is my favourite book because it is illustrated with lino cuts, which I always like very much, and it's very poetic descriptions of the landscape through the seasons, how they live their lives.
My favourite book, without hesitation, is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Because when I was a child at school, the last 20 minutes of each school day, the teacher would read a section of the book to us, and I was spellbound. And that was my first introduction into the power of what books can do, both children and adults.
It's difficult to say, but one I remember when I used to read kids' books quite a lot is something called Companions on the Road. And it's a short fantasy book by someone called Tanith Lee.
Our favourite book is Frog and Toad, because the stories are really simple, but they have really good tales, messages, and we love the little pictures as well.
Beatrix Potter. I like her books. Jemima Potter, because it's just a funny story, and I like it when the animals are all wearing clothes.
But I think one of my favourites is probably Mice and Men, and I quite like it just because it's like brings out a theme of loneliness. And
P.S. I Love You, because I really like the insight to the characters and the use of language that Cecilia Ahern uses.
Yeah, my favorite book is the translation to English is Veronica Wants to Die for Paulo Coelho. It's a Brazilian writer. It's about how he tried to define what is madness.
Just Listen, and it's by Sarah Dessen.
My favorite book is Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. Chuck Palahniuk. Yeah, I read it like ages ago, but I really love it. For how the story is developed.
Like transported me into her world, and the characters are just really interesting.
The Red 10 by Anita Diamond. Really hard for me to choose one. So in consideration to We Love Thursdays, I chose Catcher in the Rye,
which I read when I was a teenager. And I remember really identifying with the characters, which is why I loved it so much.
Oh, my favourite book is Frank Herbert's Dune, because it was the first book I read that just took you to a completely different world altogether. It's amazing.
Yeah, The Pact by J.D.
Yeah, it's The Crucible by Arthur Miller, because it involved a gripping plot and used clever contrast and symbolism to portray real-life events of the past and present.
Because it's a compelling and realistic storyline.
Crime fiction. And I've just discovered the Kellerman family, and all both parents, Jonathan and Faye Kellerman, both write detective novels, and they have a son called Jesse Kellerman who writes psychological thrillers, and I think they're very erudite, they're very intelligently written.
My favourite book isn't actually The Moomins. It will be something like Great Expectations, which is an old classic.
Libraries are great because not everybody can afford to go and buy books. And also in this day and age, with all the clutter that we have in our homes and the small homes that we don't have the space to collect so many books.
I love books. I've got about 1,000, I guess. I'd have more, but I live in a place I've got to leave one day, and the more I collect, the more they're going to get damaged. If I had been in a place, I'd probably have 5,000.
I love to see people in the libraries choosing books, especially children.
Yeah, they're really good places to be because I just like running around and finding a new book that I've never read before.
It's because there's lots to discover, you know, like you don't know what you're going to find when you come into a library.
Because they're a quiet place, and for me it's very easy to focus when I'm there, when I see everyone is doing the same, they are all like into the reading, so I love it.
Because libraries are a social hub, an educational hub, information hub of the community.
There's information, there's support, advice. It's neutral, and it's very good that in Brighton and Hove we are maintaining all our libraries next year.
I love the smell of books, which is a bit strange, and I just love the atmosphere in general. It's a great place to work.